Welcome back, boys. We have the Week 9 fantasy recap coming your way. We have managed to pump out three of these in a row, a tradition we hope to continue going forward. We had Kevin, who was kind enough to step in as the guest host this week. So, Kevin, welcome back to the show. How are things going over in Phase Kev HQ?
Always a pleasure, Trav. This year has been certainly something for the boys over here in Phase, but you know what? Huge victory this week. And honestly, I think we're on to week 10, which is another big matchup for us. So all is good in the camp. All the captains are finally back in the Phase camp. All of our boys, all of our leaders. So it's been a good stretch of a few weeks here and there, and then obviously some parts of the season that our team really wants back. But I mean, at the end of the day, that's all I can do is push forward from there. But it's good to be here. Appreciate you guys having me on. As always, it's always a pleasure.
All right. Very well said. We're very grateful to have you on with us. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and get right into the action from this past weekend. First up, FaZe Kev with the big 175 to 136 takedown of the Can Pams. Can Pams falls at 5-4, but do still hold on to a playoff spot for right now. FaZe Kev improves to 3-6. Kev, tell us how your boys were able to get the job done this week. Led behind a great performance by Josh Allen.
Absolutely. As you mentioned, Trev, it was all led by our captain, Josh Allen. He's really the one that once we brought him in this season, he's kind of the one that's really helped us steer the ship in the place and in the trends that we want to go to. But this week, Trav, it was really other than Josh by our captain, this week was led by Drake London, especially. He had three touchdowns this week, nine catches for over 100 yards, and really he was the one that going into this matchup, our camp was starting to really question his performance just in terms of he's been so hot and cold this year. But especially seeing that against a pretty good uh, Patriots defense, it's really proud to see and see Drake do well finally and put all of the pieces together, especially over the course of this week. And hopefully a trend like that continues. It'd be really good for us as heading into this week. I know our boys were a little bit on edge just because of the talent that's on the other side of the lineup over there in the Lem side of things. But obviously it was led by Josh Allen. We had Drake in our back pocket. Travion Henderson finally got 14 carries because Mike Vrabel actually learned how to trust his rookie for once. But anyway, on top of that too, it's just a really solid effort. Obviously, all of our team loves to lead a league in points. Our team has been extremely honored to have that title a couple weeks over the course of this season. But really solid effort by the entire lineup all the way around.
Yep. On the flip side here for Can Pams, 136, definitely not a horrible week by any means. It was the most points scored by a losing team would earn them a Chargers award this week. However, going against a mighty 175-point performance out of Fizz Kev, that just would not be quite anywhere near enough to get the job done. Lamar would have himself quite a day in this one. Thursday Night Football throwing for four touchdowns, able to rack up 30 points against the Dolphins. Big win for the Ravens and big performance out of Lamar there. Henry also able to contribute with 14 points despite not finding the end zone. And Kyle had himself a pretty good day, notching 21 points. However, a few too many single digits here at the bottom of the lineup, and a 22-point performance out of the Rams defense would not be enough to make up for it. They would fall in this one, but like we said earlier, they still hold a playoff spot for right now. So as long as this is not a sign of things to come, this team should be okay moving forward. See if they're able to get things corrected and play better next week. All right. And our second matchup of the week, we have Wallace Pluto 84 with a 134 to 103 victory over yours truly at Texas size 10 fours. Both teams now sit at 4-5.
And and Trevor, unfortunately, as you were holding the L this week, for Noah, his main contributor is Brock Bowers here. As we said with Drake London, he had three touchdowns himself and matched that entire output
Jackson Dart.
from that side of things. And and Dart as well. He was obviously a very key add in there as well. It's good to see all these boys finally healthy, all in one lineup. I know this lineup is very scary in this league. If you go up against this team, you're really hoping and praying that a lot of these boys really don't pop off. But unfortunately, as time goes, it does tend to happen. I know we've had our fair share of those this year too, but Hexen Dart with over 30 points is a really key driver of this. As we mentioned, Brock Bowers was also a key addition in that space, but it's really good for this camp to really have all the boys aligned and really churn out a really solid week this week, Trav. It's really nice to see a lineup like this, as scary as it is, really start to have themselves as a really solid player starting to move forward.
Yeah, definitely a good showing out of Wallace Pluto. Couple single digits out of him, but when you have two big 30 plus point performances like that, it'll lead you to a lot of good places. Especially when the team on the other side of the ball just does not show up to play at all whatsoever. We unfortunately finished this one with only 103 points, least in the league, and it just really would not be enough. Jared Goff, uh, he had himself a pretty good day. 23 points, had two touchdowns. We can't complain about him. He was one of our few bright spots. Kenneth Walker, I was a little disappointed in. He had finished with single digits. He did have a rush from like the 3 yard line that he got stuffed on. Not what we want to see out of him. Would like to see him get in the end zone. We'd also like to see the Seahawks get him more touches, but that's a lot of ifs, ands, and buts at that point. James Cook with 15. Not a bad day out of him. Not a bad day out of Pickens either, but it was a little too late. A few too many single digits down here. Also, pretty good day out of Kelsey. And then Chiefs defense also let us down, only putting up 7 points against the Bills. Just a disappointing week all around. Definitely a throughout the tape kind of week. We're just trying to move on to our game next week and hope we can play some better football moving forward. All right. Third matchup of the week. Two more teams also trying to just move on and hope they can play better football moving forward. We have Sticky Mistakes narrowly squeaking it out with a 109 to 107 victory against the Fancy Feast. This was not a high scoring affair, but still electric indeed. Daniel Jones, 15 points in this one. That was actually a pretty high score for this game. JMO also had 16, Pittman with 19. But other than that, Rashee Rice was a lone 20-point getter for this team. Other than that, not a lot of excitement. Just a bunch of ho-hum. They're kind of just able to hang on to the end and barely squeak it out. Did just enough to get it done. We'll see if this team's able to escape the toilet bowl now that is two straight wins for them, which is not something that many saw coming just a few weeks ago. So I'm sure they are happy where they're currently sitting compared to where they were.
Absolutely. I mean, and for the other side of the camp for Matt, I think Adam addressed this early in the group chat this either this past week or the week before, but I think their two matchups of the course of this year have been just about by 5 points or less, which is crazy to think about, especially as often as you play these guys. But he had some really solid outputs from Drake May, from of course Bijan Robinson is playing his usual games. RJ Harvey had a great game in this one, and Havante Adams had two touchdowns, Travis. I think this is what really kept Matt in the game this week. That was huge for them. I know Stafford and him have had really good connections over the course of this entire season, and I know he's with Puka Nacua, especially having being hurt in the fourth quarter. I know he was kind of the main target as the game was on, and unfortunately for Rome, he did have a goose egg this week. I think that was kind of the time turner, unfortunately, in this one. And you have to think, especially if Rome is Rome as he's been over the course of this entire season, I think there's a win in the bag here. But as luck would have it's not Matt's way, unfortunately, this week, but still a relatively okay showing from the fancy beast side of things.
All right, moving on to our fourth game of the week. We have Gliz Mafia able to squeak it out with a 128 to 121 victory over PC Principal. It took some I don't know what the right word would be. I guess stressful. I mean, they were projected to win by a lot going into Monday, but they still go out and do it, and it was looking a little uncertain. But in the end, they would get it done. But 128 to 121 over Peace Principle. Dak Prescott with 19 and CeeDee Lamb with 14 would be enough to put this one away for them. A couple other good performances sprinkled out throughout the lineup here. Josh Jacobs was able to get 20 as he found the end zone, although the Packers did lose to the Panthers. 16 out of Achane. Couple single digits, but that would be overcome. Almost 19, or sorry, almost 20 out of Genty. And pretty solid day out of both specialties, especially Pinheiro getting 12. They would squeak this one out with a 7-point victory. They improved to 3-6. Another one of these teams who seem to be heating up late, trying to do everything they can to escape the toilet bowl, because we know that no one wants to jump in the lake in cold ass January. So we'll see how things finish out to round out the season for these teams.
Absolutely. And as Matt's team was kind of in the same place, for Coop, it was a lot of the same, Trav. I mean, you have the Joe Flacco had a really solid game. He's looked great ever since they brought him in the midseason. Chase Brown had a really solid game as well. And then as you scroll down, Trav, you have JSN, obviously, who's been really solid, has had an incredible year all throughout this year. But I think the main thing here for Coop is the Kraft injury. Unfortunately, him having his ACL torn in I think the third quarter is really I think this last nail that really drives the coffin home for Coop and I hate to say that it's that, but I really hope just for Kraft and the rest of the team that he has a an easy way throughout the rest of the season, especially with as hard of an injury as that has been. But I know for Coop, I think it's a lot of the same too, where it's a lot of key players are here in the lineup, but it's just in terms of luck, it wasn't on Coop's side this week, as sad as it is to say.
Yep, we'll see how they're able to bounce back from this one. They currently sit just outside the playoff spot. They could go either in the playoffs or in the toilet bowl, so we'll see how things finish out.
Absolutely.
And then our fifth and final matchup, two teams that are definitely thinking playoffs this season. Philly Chicos improves to 7-2, taking outright first place of both the entire league and the American division with a 146 to 120 victory over Cleveland Steamers, who fall at 6-3.
Yeah, and for I know heading into this week, it's especially against Blake as our team is currently lined up against each other in the Week 10 series, but Blake's team has been solid all year round, Trav. He's had really key players step up, like JT has been extremely solid all year round, but it's so nice to know that he has these players that can step up as as your key pieces couldn't have the best game, but it's nice to know that he's still absolutely has it in his um I guess in and amongst his key players to really help allow for that team to really prosper. Having Sam Darnold, having a seventh round rookie running back for the Bears hit on all cylinders over the course of this week, Trev. And plus, on top of that, too, Ham Laporta had a really solid game this past week, too. So as you add all of that together, it's been a really solid week for Blake, time and time and time again. And as you put up that amount of points, it's hard to really chase that, as I'm sure you probably saw for Nick's team this week.
Yep. Next team, also not one who's shy on strong performances, just not quite enough to get it done this week. Patrick Mahomes would probably be the most disappointing spot, and that lost the Bills. He would throw a pick and finish with only 10 points. Uh, normally they're flirting around more like 30. So obviously, when you're down 20 points there, that's going to hurt your team's ability to win the game. Christian McCaffrey would try to make that up, though. However, 106 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns, good for 35 points against the Giants. And then Trey McBride had a solid day, 15 points out of him, finding the end zone. Digger, the kicker, came to play, getting 11, and then a decent day out of the Chargers defense. So they're not quite as good as the Ravens defense for Blake's team over here, but still some solid performances. Although they just couldn't quite put it together as for the team as a whole this week. But I'm sure this team will be able to bounce back moving forward. They've been playing some very good football all year. However, this is a spot they'd like to have back, as they are now going to have to chase the Philly Eagles down and make up that game and then some in order to take the divisional title heading into the playoffs. But they still should get a playoff spot, so I'm sure they're not too worried over it. And with that, we're going to go ahead and take a look at our Week 10 schedule and standings. Well, Kev, do you think we should do the schedule or the standings first?
We can do the schedule first and then the
All right, let's
standings.
do the schedule first. So first up, we got yours truly, Texas size 10-4s, sitting at 4-5, taking on Sticky Mistakes at 3-6. Both teams desperately need a win. Sticky Mistakes looking to get out of the toilet bowl. We're looking to squeak in the playoffs maybe if we can. So we'll see who's able to get the job done on that one. Second up, FaZe Kev sitting at 3-6. Coming off the big win, looking to take on Philly Chicos, also coming off a big win at 7-2. Kev, you had a great performance last week. How you looking to build on that and take down the first place team here up in Philly?
I think, Trev, if we show up and play our game, as you've seen time and time again over the course of this entire season, our team is really solid all the way around. And I think it's especially against Blake, his team is also very solid all the way around too. So it should be a really great matchup. It should be a huge chance in order for us to help possibly check in on the playoffs. It's a huge opportunity and a huge chance. So it should be an awesome tilt in between the two of us.
All right. Our third matchup, Fancy Freeze just dropped one of the worst teams, fall to 6-3 last week. They're looking to not do that again, taking on Glitz Mafia. He's 3-6, but definitely can put together some sneaky good performances. And they've definitely faced some points against adversity this year, so we'll see if that's the case again this week for them. And then fourth matchup, Wallace Pluto at 4-5, taking on Cleveland Steamers at 6-3. Cleveland Steamers looking to get back into first place. Wallace Pluto looking to crawl back door into the playoffs. And fifth and final matchup, Can Pams, who will be looking to prevent any backdoor crawling in the playoffs, taking on again on PC Principal, who sits at 4-5, but has a great opportunity here as they are battling the team who holds that second wild card spot. So don't need to say how obvious it is that a win there would be huge for their playoff chances. And now let's take ahead and look at the standings real quick. First off, we got the Michigan division where French Feast is leading the way at 6-3. Texas has 10-4s, and Wallace Pluto sit behind at 4-5. Us along with PC Principal, one of us is currently out of the toilet bowl. I've not figured out which one. I'm guessing it'd be me.
Hmm.
But although Noah did just beat me. So do I have more points than Coop?
Close race.
We're figuring this out in real time. So I have less
Yeah.
points than Coop. And Noah beat me on the head-to-head last week. I don't remember what he did earlier in the year. But if it's 2-0, then Noah would be out. If it's 1-1, then I would have him on points. And then Glizz Mafia and Sticky Mistakes behind them at 3-6, looking to escape the toilet bowl any way they can. And then over in the American division, we have the Philly Chicos leading the way. They have the number one overall seed right now at 7-2. And then Cleveland Steamers and Can Pams right behind them at 6-3 and 5-4, both currently holding a playoff spot. PC Principal in the Mediocrity Bowl right now at 4-5, biting right on their heels. And then FaZe Kev at 3-6, looking to escape the toilet bowl any way they can. So that'll do it for us this week. Thank you so much to everyone for tuning in. Kev, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Boys, I'm hoping for the health and the safety of your players this week. Hopefully it's a good week. Hopefully there's lots of action. Hopefully there's a lot of good plays that are all around. Hopefully there's a Lions win. Hopefully I know for you, Trav, the Colts are throwing in a dub in there as well. So and hope for the Bills as well, just as in order to really tie it all together. So hopefully it's a good week. But it's been an honor, Trav. Appreciate it as always.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for joining us. We love the hoodie. Definitely much easier to share to record with two people. So we thank you for taking the time to come bring the people the crucial information they need to hear. Uh,
Of course. Of
and of
course.
course, thanks to everyone for tuning in. Hope you guys have a great weekend of football watching ahead of you. Peace out.